Well, good afternoon, YouTube. This is Chuck, and it's Friday, February 21st, 2025, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm back fiddling with my old truck again. And in the last video, I talked about putting these resistors in. Little guys right there. Now this, as you can see, I put this on here temporary yesterday. And I used a zip tie to make sure it didn't touch anything. But that came out of this plug right down here. But when I pulled the plug out, the plug fell apart and the innards came out of it. So I just did this temporary. Well, I can't leave that way forever. That always was intended to be temporary. So today I'm fiddling around trying to figure out a way to make this look better and put it in more professionally. Well, the other two, actually, I used the plugs and I kind of stuck them in the end there. There's one here and then this one over here. And you can see part of the little blue peeking out of there. That's just electrical tape holding it in place. And so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these plugs clear off of here. And I had to figure out a way to fit this directly into the wire, how to fasten it to the wire. And I'm going to take these three things completely off of this thing, which means this whole assembly will have to come out. And then the coil, of course, this is the ignition coil, and that, of course, stays. So I'm going to pull this whole thing out of here. But I had to come up with some way of fastening these resistors in place here that would be durable and would look professional and then hold up to the rigors of the engine heat and all that kind of stuff like that. So they needed to be protected. I couldn't leave them just sitting out like that. I was laying in bed early this morning, and after I got to relieve myself, and like a lot of times, I couldn't get back to sleep. So I started thinking about a way that I could protect those resistors and come up with something that worked a little better. Now, the resistors as they are, that's kind of an awkward thing. The wires come out of the other end of it, either end of it. And so I wanted something that I could come up with that the wires would just come out of one end. So basically, this is what I came up with. All right, that resistor's up inside there. This one's done. I need three of them, of course, and so this one here is partially done, and you can see how I soldered the wire there. I soldered the wire here, and then this assembly will fit up inside that little tube right there. And then this, of course, is what it takes to do the whole thing. So when I get it up there, I'll take electrical tape and I'll seal up this bottom end here. And then the top end up there, I was using this sealer and just seal it up so no moisture or anything can get in there. Well, this is pretty durable, and this will protect that resistor and protect the wiring, and that should work okay. And then I'll just have to cut the plugs off and fasten those into the wires, and I think that's going to work. So this little tube, I bet none of you can guess what that little tube actually is, so I'm going to tell you. That's actually the tube that's left over from the dog poop bags, the roll of dog poop bags from dear departed Flapjack. And they're hard plastic, and I always figured I could use them for something, so I saved a handful of them, probably more than a handful. And last night I got to thinking, if all this assembly will fit up inside there, which it does, then that would be a good use for them. So basically, I got to make three of them. There's the parts to do it. One's done, one's partially done, and I haven't started on this one yet. So I'll be back with you when I get these things together and I start taking the disassembling those components on there. And so I'll be back when I got something to show you. There, all three of those are done. For size comparison, you can see the pliers and the wire strippers and my soldering gun right there. But they're done, and next thing to do would be to disassemble that stuff off the truck, and I'm going to go take a look at that. Be back shortly. Okay, so I pulled this little bracket right here off and pulled that part of those emissions parts out of there, and these two I've got temporarily wired in place. I got to redo that, and I'm going to probably do this one here first. Let me back up and show you what this right here. That right there is a piece that came off. And that basically these little solenoids controlled vacuum lines that turn things on and off and basically leaked, made it run bad. So this is going away, and I got the truck's runnable again. I can put the battery cable back on. I pulled the battery cable off because that red ignition wire down here, this one right there, that one is hot all the time. So just to be on the safe side, I went ahead and disconnected the battery. So I'm going to connect the battery back up, and then I think I'm going to tackle that first little one right there and see what it's going to take to hook that new resistor setup on. Back in a little bit. Well, I'm back, and it's actually the next morning, and I ran into a little problem with that last night. So let me kind of show you and tell you about what happened. First of all, I got my little stool out there and my fender cover and my pad to lay on. If I haven't told you before, if you wonder why I put this spray can cap over the top of the hood latch, that thing's got some sharp edges on it. It likes to bite me. And just ask me how I know. I don't need to give blood this morning on that. Well, when I left you last evening, I was getting ready to change out this little jewel right there. And I got it finished, but I did run into an issue. And what the issue is, let me get in a little bit better position here to talk about it. What the issue is all this original wiring harness, and with the wire itself and the tape, they used good tape back 33 years ago. But what's happened is it's been heated and cooled so many times over the years that it's basically turned to stone. And I could not unwrap that tape, and the insulation on the wire is brittle, the wire itself is brittle, and I was afraid if I wrestled with it too much, I was just going to break it. So what I finally ended up doing is I finally ended up soldering that connection there, putting some shrink tube on it too, and so I got this one changed out. And so it's laying there. I haven't secured it yet, but it's laying right there. But what that told me, or by the time I got done with that last evening, I was kind of frustrated, number one. And number two, I kind of run out of daylight and supper was ready and all that. So I didn't come back to you last evening. But now I got these two to do. But originally I was going to cut these off. But this wiring harness here is the same way. This thing's turned to stone as well. This thing is solid as a rock. I even tried trimming that out with an X-Acto knife, and it didn't even want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this tape here and pull these resistors out, and I'm going to try to figure out a way to make some kind of a plug that'll plug into there and go that route. And when I get done, I'll be able to lay those other two right here. And when I get them all there, I'll figure out some way to secure them in place. But that's where I'm at right now. And I originally tried filming that video in this last night when I was working on it, but after I started getting frustrated a little bit, I realized that wasn't going to work. So I went ahead and shut the camera off. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and shut the camera off again so I can get both hands in here to work on these things. This little clip here, I'm just going to cut it off. It's not going to do anything anymore. But anyway, I'll be back again here pretty quick, and I'll let you know what's going on. Well, folks, there's the finished product. And as you can see, I've got all three of these together. They're bundled and they're held in place with a zip tie. What I ended up doing on these two is I couldn't find anything that worked for a plug. So I needed a spade connector to go in there. So what I ended up doing is I ended up soldering all the wires together and then using a hammer and kind of flattening it out and making a spade connector. And it took a little bit of trial and error, but I got them to fit in there really, really tight. So this was the one I did yesterday, and these are the two I did this morning, and this project is done. And I'll go out and drive it a little bit and make sure it's all right. I'm sure it will be. But anyway, that's my 75 ohm resistor project. Let me get over here out of the sun so I can talk to you. And I'll just tell you that I'm going to say that this will wrap this one up. And so take care of each other, love each other, be happy for what you have, because there's a whole lot of people who have less than you do. And I'll be back again with another one here pretty quick on another subject. I've got a little short one to shoot. This will be kind of fun. And I'll be back with you again pretty quick. So right now, let me just tell you, peace out.